than the weather we've had for a solid week now. At least we had a beautiful Saturday and Sunday Easter.
I know they did have some storms in southern
Yeah, they've had some
Arkansas.
weather. They've had some weather. You know, the other thing is you could just follow, I could hand you my computer too when we go down to the stuff.
What, you can't get online?
No, he had to go get some support staff. Pardon me?
We could quick print off another agenda packet. if that
Oh,
helps you.
well, I got that.
Yeah,
We can wing it up here
Yeah.
probably.
yeah, well, he'll be fine.
Well, 1:30, everyone here, that's
Yep,
me pretty much.
yeah, Dick won't be here.
All right, calling the Health and Human Services meeting to order here, 1:30. We stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I
I
pledge
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United
States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Come on in.
It's our IT person.
No problem.
Come on in. You're on camera. Hey, you look good.
All right.
All right.
Well, I'm going to be chairing the meeting today, and we're getting some IT help here, but I got a paper agenda and support up here, so we'll get through it. But first thing is the minutes, dispense with the reading and approve as written or revised.
Mr. Chair, I'll move the minutes from last meeting.
I'll second it.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, we've got review and approval of the agenda. Anything to be changed, added, deleted?
Mr. Chair, I have one item to remove under new hires. Mel Rotz will be starting next week.
Okay. Anything else? Okay. Is there a motion to approve the agenda with that one correction of removal of
So
item
moved.
5?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Next, item 4, consent agenda. Anything related to the consent agenda to be changed or removed?
I will move the consent agenda with those
Okay, motion
items.
to move. Is there a second?
A second.
Any discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Under regular agenda, social services, public health, financial services, and number 1, central.
Actually, Commissioner,
Oh, okay,
Yep, the new hires.
okay, sorry. Go ahead under new hires.
okay, so our first new hire is in the fiscal technology unit. It's Katrina or Katie Singer. Katie, are you on?
I am.
There you are. So Katie is one of our office technicians working at the front desk, and she is supervised by Lisa Spencer.
Well, welcome aboard.
Hello.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Yeah. Mark, it's your turn to grill.
Oh, there we go. Now we can see ya. Weren't sure there for a moment. So, where do you live now? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Buffalo. I live in Annandale for the last 10 years.
So, you lived in the right place all your life, and now you work at the right place.
That's right.
Well, congratulations and welcome.
Welcome.
Thank you so much.
Welcome aboard, Katie.
All right, our second new hire for today is Paige Bratch. She is a social worker in the intake and intervention team. She started just last week and is supervised by Jessica Nelson. Paige, are you on?
I am.
You go ahead and keep talking, then the screen will switch to you.
Okay. It should, am I popping up yet?
There you go.
Perfect.
Hello, Paige.
Hi.
So where'd you grow up?
Well, I grew up in Northeast Minneapolis, and then I currently live in Blaine.
Okay,
That's a little trip
yeah.
from Blaine to here.
Yeah, it's about 45 minutes, but it works. I'm opposite of traffic, so when I head up 94, it's pretty easy. So, and we've had good weather, so it's not too bad. I get to listen to the radio in the morning and catch up on everything over the weekend. So yeah, it's been a good drive. It's been a good, interesting last couple days, but I'm glad to be here.
Yeah,
Well, welcome aboard.
Welcome.
Maybe eventually you'll figure out that since you work in the Wright County, it'll be best to live in the Wright County.
That's what I've heard. And honestly, the last couple of days, driving out there, I'm like, maybe moving closer would be better. So yeah, no, it's definitely crossed my mind in the last couple of days.
Well, good. Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paige. All right, our third new hire is Tara Moy, also in the Fiscal Technology and Support team. Tara is our newest accounting clerk. And Tara, if you want to start off by just telling us about where you grew up, that should give the camera enough time to pick you up.
Okay. Hi, everyone. I actually grew up in Chaska, Minnesota, and for the last 25 years, I actually lived in Shakopee, and just recently moved out to Montrose here this past fall. My husband and I are just trying to figure out what city we want to kind of live in. He actually grew up in the area here, so he's happy to be back home.
So where'd you grow up at?
Howard Lake.
I actually grew up in Chaska.
No, your husband, you said, grew up in the area?
Yeah, he did Montrose.
Oh, he grew up in Montrose. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, good.
Is he related to Jerry?
Jerry Moy?
Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
There's a lot of Moys out here that
Yep.
he's related to.
My classmate.
Okay.
We won't hold that against him.
Well, welcome.
Thanks,
Thank
Tara.
you for having me.
Thank you, Tara. And Tara is supervised by Kate Dahl, our fiscal supervisor. Then our last new hire today is Jennifer Oxley. She is an Office Technician 1, also in the Fiscal Technology and Support team. She started on Monday and is supervised by Lisa. Jennifer, if you could start off by talking about where you grew up from. There we go. We have the camera on you already.
Sure. I grew up in Watertown, so not too far away. A lot of family in this area as well, but I moved away to the cities and actually came back a few years ago and got married to another classmate of mine from Watertown. We grew up together, so that's how I got back to Buffalo.
So you're living in Buffalo or Watertown?
We live in Buffalo, just down the road, actually.
Oh, nice.
So, yep, very nice and close.
Yeah.
It'll be even closer when we move to the other building.
Oh, really? Well, that'll be nice.
Cool.
Congratulations.
Yeah, welcome to living and working in the Wright County.
Exactly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jennifer.
All right, next item 6, Employee of the Month.
Okay, our May 2021 Employee of the Month is Jennifer Stein, and I did see Jennifer on here. Jason, have you been working magic to get them to show up right away?
Yes.
Jennifer started with the county in financial assistance in May of 2014. She moved to child support 2 years later. Jennifer has a heart for service and for helping those around her. She is compassionate and relates well with her customers. She will go the extra mile to provide resources and offer support. She helps them navigate complicated government and judicial systems during a stressful time. Our nominator states, Jennifer is great at her job. She is the type of person that you come across in life and you just know they are a good person. Sometimes in the child support system, you can feel like the worker looks down on you. I never felt that way when speaking to Jennifer. Jennifer would always call me back right away with any issue I had. She would help me understand what was happening with my case. Any question I had, or if there was something I needed, she never hesitated to help. I felt reassured that if I needed her help, she would do so, and she would understand how I was feeling and do her best to help me out. In my case, that is everything. Thank you, Jennifer, and congratulations on being our HHS May Employee of the Month.
Thank you.
Beach.
Beach.
Congratulations, Jennifer.
Thank you. I'm definitely in the right place.
Good.
Beat you, Mark.
So,
Sorry. Yeah, it's wonderful to get those kinds of compliments, to know what great staff we have, like with people like you, Jennifer. Thank you.
Thank you.
your office looks a little different than what we have up here in the county. Are you working from home?
I am, yes,
You've been doing that for a while now, or?
I have.
Okay, so, because you do get a parking space in the basement if you want it, if you're gonna be here.
Well, I'll have to come in for that.
Okay. There's a sign there that says it.
Okay.
All right.
All right, next. Social services, public health, financial services under the regular agenda.
Okay, and I did see Barb Chaffee. She is online. Barb, whenever you are ready to take it away.
Well, thank you very much for inviting us. And Jennifer, you should take up that under garage thing. I think that sounds pretty interesting. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Barbara Chaffee. I'm the CEO for Central Minnesota Jobs and Training Services, and we serve 11 counties in the central part of our state, including Wright County. Year 2021, and do you have our PowerPoint that you want to put up? Because I'm going to be following that.
We do have the PowerPoint.
Okay, do you have it sitting in front of you? Should I just continue to work through it? Or do you want to put it up for everyone?
You can go ahead, Barb. I will catch up with you.
Okay.
Barb, do you know that your camera is not on?
My camera's not on?
No.
That's weird. Because according to mine, I can see you.
Now
You can't. Now you can see? Okay, I clicked it on and off, sorry. But can you see me now?
I sure can.
Okay. It sounds kind of weird. Can you see me now? Okay. Year 2021 actually marks our 37th year together as partners in workforce development. And I'm very proud of that. We are under federal law and state statute. We are your fiscal agent and your administrative entity. So I've got it on my own screen, but I'm going to flip to the next one, and that would be the agenda. Because I'm your administrative entity and fiscal agent, it is my responsibility on behalf of the Joint Powers Board to bring and present to you our annual fiscal audit, our annual program performance report, which you can get online now at cmjts.org. And also in your packets, you're going to see the schedule of insurances that are there for your reading pleasure to make sure that your assigned person to our board, which is Commissioner Hewsome, make sure that she is covered by our insurances. And then also you have requested that we make sure that in your packets are the Wright County LMI information. So that's also in there. But the most important part of our agenda isn't me. It's really about staff coming to you to talk about what's happening right here in Wright County and a focus on the programs and services that we provide. So next, There are a couple of new commissioners, and they're on our board. And just to remind you that one county commissioner from each of the 11 county boards sits on our Joint Powers Board, and the two new ones are Candy Ohio County Steve Gardner and McLeod County Commissioner Nathan Schmalz. Next, the most important commissioner is, I just want to pause for a moment and just say kudos and thank you so much to Commissioner Hewsome for her absolutely outstanding leadership on our board. This is Commissioner Hewsome's 8th year, and we're very fortunate to have her. She's very focused on employment and training services, and so we're going to provide you with some of the services that we provide here. So next. I wanted to just make sure for those of you that don't know that the highlighted greenish area is our 11 counties, and Stearns Benton was also a partner, and they call it Region 3. But for our area, we have got a few more specialized centers that we added. And of course, you know that Monticello is in Wright County, and that is our largest center. It's called, under federal law, it's called the Comprehensive Center, as all of our partners co-located in there from the Department of Employment and Economic Development plus ourselves, and adult basic education. And so the new centers are marked in red: Malacca, North Branch, Pine City, and Sandstone. Next. And our annual audit, we usually bring that out to you in a trifold, but because of COVID, we had to attach it to cmjts.org so that you can review it at that point. Next. Most important today is for you to listen to my staff. And so I'm going to ask them to introduce themselves and what they're presenting. But I have to tell you that Dina Warnes is out ill today. She sends her regrets. And if you want, I can certainly schedule her for a different day, but I'm going to go ahead and turn this over to Tricia. So next.
Good afternoon. I am Tricia Bigwit. I'm the Finance Director with CMJTS, and I'm here with your annual fiscal audit. You have a copy of the audit in your electronic packet, and you can see all of the grants that we reviewed this year that we had in-house. We provided our auditors, Clifton Larson Allen, all of the financial statements so that they're able to come in and provide for us an unmodified opinion, meaning they don't have to produce the financial statements. They're able to just come in and review them. They look at participant files, they look at cash disbursements in our payroll system and our accounts payable system. They pull all of our general ledger detail. They look at our monitoring reports that we do with the state and federal entities, and they come up with their conclusions. Included in this presentation and in your packet, you can see the summary of results, and you can see that there was no issues, no concerns, no material weaknesses, no issues of fraud or misrepresentation of the financial statements. So you can be assured that what Commissioner Hewsome is seeing on a quarterly basis is accurate, and she gets to see it up to date when our auditors come in. And what's being provided for you now is a look at our year ending June 30th, 2019. But this just shows that they're comfortable that with what's being provided on an ongoing basis is accurate and up to date. So that's all that I have for you.
I just want to remind my staff to say next, because then they'll be on the right page. So you can go down a couple.
I know.
The next one, that's the one that she was talking about. And now you can go down one more. There you go. Oh, back up right there. Okay.
Actually, if you want to go back to one more.
One more. There you go.
So I am stepping in and going to kind of give a brief overview. I'm Leslie Witowitz, the development manager here at CMJTS. My part is actually later in the presentation, but with Dina being out, we wanted to give you an overview of her programs, of course, I am not the expert. So again, as Barb mentioned, if you wanted more detail than what I am providing, you could certainly ask Dina to come and present at a later date. But just wanted to share that we are fortunate and are able to be the provider for employment and training for the MFIT program. Since the peacetime emergency went into place, there has not been DWP, the diversionary work program. Everybody going on assistance has been just put into MFIP. Once the peacetime emergency ends, which it's scheduled to end April 14th, not sure if that does, but during that time frame, there will be a 60-day wind down to go back to the normal rules. It has been more of a challenge getting participants to really engage with us, because right now the sanction process and closures are not in place right now during the peacetime emergency. We are offering in-person services at this time by appointment and trying to encourage individuals to come in and do their intakes in person, because we think that really develops the rapport and encourages them to engage with us. MFIP is designed to be a program that expects, supports, and rewards work. So customers are still encouraged and supposed to be turning in their job search logs, and we share job leads and as many opportunities with them as possible. Our employment specialists help the families identify their challenges, address barriers. We are able to provide some support services and really help them focus on leading their life to the best of their ability and find employment that leads to self-sufficiency. So next slide, please. Some of the services we are able to provide are those one-on-one counseling services. Our employment specialists really focus on a strengths-based approach and really identifying what are their transferable skills, being solution-focused, helping them identify where their job readiness level is. We help with mock interviews, application assistance, job search. If they need some additional training, we do have a lot of other grants that are able to help fund training services as well and get them some short-term credentials to get them into employment as quick as possible. We do assess their skills, their strengths, their aptitude, and their interests. We provide a lot of referrals to partner agencies and other community services to make sure all of their barriers are addressed. Next slide, please. We are also a provider of the SNAP employment and training. So our adult employment specialists actually facilitate this program because they are able to co-enroll into adult programs so that they can really assist with some additional training and on-the-job training services that are eligible to them. We do have a 50-50 grant, so for every dollar that is spent on a staff participant, we are able to receive 50 cents back on the dollar into our coffers to continue assisting these individuals. So the SNAP ENT does provide recipients food support. It is a voluntary program in Minnesota, but it does provide the opportunities. So for an ABOD, which is an able-bodied adult worker, I don't remember all of the acronym, what it stands for offhand, but they are able to earn some additional months. Next slide, please. And I'm going to let Diana take it from here.
Hello, everybody. I'm Diana Ristamaki, and I am the Youth Program Manager. And since Dina's out, I'm just going to talk briefly about her Adult and Dislocated Worker Program. For adult programs, we have the WIOA Adult. And for those individuals, eligibility is that they have to be 18 years of age, a U.S. citizen, comply with the selective service registration, and then we have some type of priority of service, and that is dependent upon deed at that point. But for example, it might be veterans with low income and basic skills deficient, or it might be a special population that they are trying to target for services. With our WIOA state and dislocated worker, those are individuals that come to us who have lost their job at no fault of their own. For both of those programs, our services are really tailored to the individual needs. So they will come to our ESs. Our ESs will meet with them. They'll take a look at their individual needs, their work history, their skills, those types of things, and really determine, is employment the best route and or is training the best route? And then they will work with them individually on those different services in order to pretty much get them back to work as soon as possible. Along the way, that might be job search, that might be giving them certain support services in order to eliminate some of the barriers for their education and training. But a lot of the different services that Leslie had talked about on an one-on-one basis. And then again, if you have more questions or concerns, just reach out to Dina. She can kind of give you an overall more in-depth about the adult and dislocated worker programs.
Diana? Just
Yep.
to clarify that WIOA is Workforce Investment Opportunity Act. It's a federal law that was passed, I don't know, in about 16 or 17 maybe. I mean, Barb knows that better than I, but that's what WIOA stands for.
Yeah, you're actually close. It's Workforce Innovations and Opportunity Act.
Oh,
and it was actually signed into law in 2014. You're right on the numbers.
Yeah.
Good.
Any questions about the adult and dislocated worker at all? Besides that?
I have
Okay,
a
so you can go to
question.
the next. Oh,
And I looked through all the material, there was a lot of charts and graphs, and it was good, showing a lot of information. Is there anything that shows like the job placement numbers of how many people that went through the program got hired, and if the further info, if it was hired in Wright County or what county they were hired in?
I don't know if it breaks it down quite by county, but maybe. I mean, we can get like placement type statistics, whether they went into training, whether they were obtained a job. But we do have like numbers. We could tell you how many were served out of Wright County from the different programs, that kind of data.
Yeah,
It's
just
also-
at the very least, one number that, how many that went through the program just, got hired. It doesn't really necessarily have to be what field, but just, what the placement percentage is.
And we have seen those numbers, or different companies that have hired, so there's different companies that will have opportunities that reach out to Central Minnesota Jobs and Training also.
Actually, we do have that report, the one that is online, that has a lot of that information in it. That trifold that we normally bring out usually has that data in it, but we do have a department that can break those things down pretty close. So, and we normally
She
give
is off today, so we could make that request and get it to you later this week of the numbers. And if you want an overall number, but we can also break it down by the number of public assistance recipients, adult, dislocated worker, and youth that were served in Wright County.
Sure, it's no emergency, and I know you're working on 2019 numbers, so yeah, when you get it, I'd be interested in the information. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Okay. You can go to the next slide, please. And the next one. So I gave you guys kind of a youth program chart of eligibility. With the youth programs, we have quite a few variety of programs. So the eligibility is very different for each one. So it's just kind of easier to give you this chart. And if you really want specifics on what that eligibility is, you can take a closer look at it. But I'll go through the next slide on kind of generally the population of youth that we serve. So our age groups for youth programs is 14 to 24 who meet some type of eligibility criteria. In most cases, these are the general ones that we work with. It can be youth who are low income. youth who have a disability. We work with a lot of school dropouts or maybe youth that are just struggling in school and are considered a potential school dropout. A lot of homeless youth, foster care youth, or some of the youth that have aged out of the foster care system. Youth who are pregnant or are parenting teens. Those who have an English language learner, who are basic skills deficient, and in our terms, basic skills deficient means anyone who is below a 9th grade level, chemically dependent or have chemically dependent parents, and then also individuals that require additional assistance to complete an educational or secure employment. And generally, in most cases, we can determine that at a local level. Next slide, please. So what do we do for youth programs? Overall, we provide services that assist youth to eliminate barriers to employment and education and training in order for them to become successful. We support young adults in their career adventures and then that lead to self-sufficiency, independence, and confidence, which is a big one in the youth programs. Guide and support youth to identify their strengths, set goals for the future, and build skills. So how do we do that? Next slide, please. There's about 14 different program elements that we can provide through the youth programs. One of the biggest ones that we do is work-based learning. So the biggest one is considered a work experience. And what we would do is we would actually set youth up at a work site. More than likely it could be in Wright County, just depending on where that individual youth works. And then that employer will take on the youth and help them learn employment skills. CMJTS is the employer of record, so we take on the workers' comp, the liability, and the payment to the youth. And they're generally on that site for maybe about 200 hours, depending on the actual use, pretty much their youth needs. And that's really for them to develop the skills that they need in order to be competitive in the world. Another service we provide is occupational skills training, and a lot of this is that tuition assistance. So we're helping them enroll into college, looking at what type of career that they want to do, and helping them along the way for that, and just prepping them for that training also. So are they completing assessments? Are they filling out their college application? Doing the FAFSA, just anything that really they need to do in order to enroll into college and to be successful within that college. So it might be hooking them up to career counseling services at the school or TRIO programs, those types of things. Leadership development, that's truly just trying to increase their self-advocacy skills, becoming a leader, those types of things. So our ES will take a look at that individual need. Maybe they're becoming a lead for some of the group work that we do with our service projects, those types of things. Next slide, please. And then dropout and recovery services. We do see a lot of out-of-school youth who have dropped out of school or were potential. So we're referring to those partners such as GED partners in order for them to get back into school. One of the things that CMJTS does is we can pay for GED stipends, and that is paying the youth $10 an hour in order to pay for their seat time while they're working on their GED test. So it's kind of a little bit of a carrot in order for the students to really try to obtain that GED. And then support services, this can be financially, maybe it's paying for their driver's education for them to get to school or to work. Just general bills that they need in order to be self-sufficient. Could also be referrals to those community partners, so like our WIC programs and those that are on this call pretty much. Financial literacy, we incorporate financial literacy pretty much in every part of our piece of our programming. It's very important. A lot of the youth we see don't have a bank account. They don't know how to open up a bank account. So we're just teaching those types of skills along the way. And then follow-up services, a lot of our programs we do, once they exit, we actually still follow them for a full year in order to ensure that they're still employed and or still in school, and helping them kind of reduce barriers if they come up so that they continue to be successful. Next slide. All right, so one of the other services that we do provide is under our Minnesota Youth Programming. We're allowed to take up to 20% of our funds and set it aside to provide services to youth that don't qualify for a program. So this generally means that we'll go into schools and we'll help those school counselors look at any type of career exploration or post-secondary prep to just the general population, and that is generally tailored to the school need and the youth need. So it just allows us to get out and about at schools and provide that services for free. And then there's just more a detailed list there. Okay, I did that really fast, so I apologize. Any questions you have for the youth programs?
I have one, Mr. Chair.
Commissioner Wetter?
Do you work with the alternative schools then?
Oh, yes, definitely. They are one of our biggest partners in everything that we do. We work pretty closely with them, and it's actually very nice because they have us come in quite often. In some of our areas, we're there once a week, providing just some classroom stuff. So yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Any other questions? All right, thank you for your time.
All right, again, I'm Leslie and I manage our Workforce Development Division. So you could go to the next slide. One of the key things that I manage is our business services team. So I am sure most of you have met or have heard of Tim Zapoy, who is the business service coordinator for Wright and Sherburne counties. He is extremely active in Wright County, and I am sure most of you have at least heard his Work Right radio program that happens every Monday. If you haven't, you should check it out. It does record and is available as a podcast in the afternoons. He recruits Wright County employers to participate and promote their job openings, as well as promoting Career Force and CMJTS services during that radio show. And from what we've heard, it does have an impact. It may not be the worker directly that hears the radio program, but it could be a grandparent that hears an employer, and then they'll be like, hey, to their grandson or child, I heard about this, you should go check it out. So we know through word of mouth that it does have an impact. But we are here to help connect with qualified workers. As you heard, from our youth programs to our adult programs, either from entry level to those who have been dislocated from higher level occupations, helping them find the right fit and get them back to work. We also connect with employee training through on-the-job training, work experience. Transitional jobs is similar to work experience, but with every funding stream, they have different terminology. And for work experience and transitional jobs, CMJTS is the employer of record. So we cover the wage and the workers' compensation. We also provide incumbent worker training. We link to registered and youth apprenticeship resources as well. And we have several business resources. We are currently working on updating a diversity and equity guide that Duluth Workforce Service Area created. We got permission to take a lot of their information and then add our local resources to it. So very thankful for some of the legwork other areas have done that we can build upon and make it a great tool for our local businesses. And you can go to the next slide. So CMJTS is well known for our on-the-job training program. We have gone out and provided on-the-job training to other workforce development areas. This is where the business is reimbursed the cost of training for a new employee. Of course, the employee that they are hiring has to be eligible for our programs because we do tap into adult and dislocated or youth funding to provide that reimbursement of wages. But it is a great opportunity for a business to hire somebody who may not come to them with all of the skills already, that we can reimburse up to 50% of the wages for a certain length of time. So the employer is able to provide and have funding to support that additional training the employee may need. The business does the hiring, it goes through their own process, and then they learn the skills unique to that business and industry. We often refer a lot of our current enrollments once they have completed their training or they are job ready. And then during that interview process, the client will let the business know that they are OJT eligible. As I mentioned, the business makes the hiring decision, and then the counselors are on call for consultation to make sure that everything goes smoothly throughout the OJT contract. Next slide, please.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Dodd.
How many people do you currently have in queue that are looking for work?
Not as many as we'd like. I'll put it that way. Just the current situation, I think with unemployment that has been extended again, some people are holding out to either go back to their previous employer or just waiting for that right fit. You know, there's a lot of extenuating circumstances that people have left the labor force because either they've decided, you know what, I don't want to deal with this, retirement age is here, so doing that. Also, a lot of parents who've had to stay at home and do some of that education. I think there's just so many different factors that have had impact. So I can get you the numbers of how many we currently have enrolled in Wright County, but we are doing outreach. I know the adult program is connecting and doing outreach calls to those job seekers who've registered on Minnesota Works, trying to engage them to come in and apply for services. Again, calling, reaching out, it's always a struggle to engage people. So doing the best we can. I hope that answers your question.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just curious because I know the unemployment numbers are high, but I also know there's a lot of signs and people looking. My local newspaper, I have never seen as many employment ads as I have seen in the last few weeks. I've never seen that many before.
A business in
No.
Buffalo closed because they couldn't get workers, Little Caesars, you know?
Oh, is that why they closed? Oh.
Yeah, I know it's going to be an
Yes.
issue.
Yep, it's an issue.
I know that Tim gets calls daily from employers that are desperate. I know that our business service coordinators, I don't think have ever been this busy in trying to help find job seekers. And it may not be somebody who's enrolled with our program. They will assist the employer in going through Minnesota Works looking for resumes that may be a good fit. So they are also, we facilitate human resource networking groups monthly. And that is an opportunity where the employers can come, they leave their competition at the door, and they share the best practices and what's working for them. And right now, oftentimes, it's how are you getting people in the door? Of course, you see a lot of businesses that have hiring bonuses that have never been seen before, you know, $2,000, $8,000 sign-on bonuses. I think more flexibility, more time off. I think employers are doing what they can to be creative as much as possible in this environment. I know we currently do have on-the-job training contracts. We have some incumbent worker trainings, which is business driven, and it's helping employers really upskill their current employees. And because of the current environment where hiring is hard, it gives them an opportunity to tap into up to $25,000 to provide some training to their current employees so that maybe they could do the job that they're unable to fill. So there are some additional opportunities there. I mentioned Tim facilitates the Work Right radio program on KRWC. He is very active in the Wright County Economic Development Partnership, the Workforce Pathways Initiative. He is always promoting and developing sharing apprenticeship opportunities. There is a K through 12 navigator and apprenticeship toolbox through Central Minnesota Manufacturing Association, and I know he highly promotes that with Wright County manufacturers. He assists Wright County employers with staffing needs. He hosts and facilitates the monthly HR group. He also facilitates a weekly professional development group that is more high-level dislocated workers. And since COVID, that group has gone virtual and has had way more attendance across the state. And it is very successful. It was a brainstorm of one of our board members, Rob Stark, and he assists in facilitation along with another company. And so it's a great resource for those high-level job seekers. And the next slide, please. This was our drive-through job fair event that we held last October. We are looking at planning another drive-through job fair. We're thinking probably early June, just because with COVID, it is difficult to do a large-scale hiring event. We are hoping to get back to some smaller scale hiring events here in our office in Monticello, but to really accommodate and try to help the needs of several employers, we will be doing another drive-through event. So what happened is we partnered with Wright County Economic Development. They provided bags, and then employers provided us all of their swag and job opening information. We compiled the information, we promoted it, and then we were able to hand out packets of information to those job seekers. Unfortunately, we thought October should be pretty good for weather. It was the one day that it snowed, and we feel it impacted our job seeker engagement, but to me, we had, I think it was 55 job seekers come through, so it was successful. And again, we will be promoting that and doing the best we can and being creative in these more challenging times. Any other questions for me? Because that kind of wraps it up for my section of the presentation.
I just have one addition, Mrs. Barb. I want to let you know that we are open in Monticello. It's our corporate office. We're open by appointment only and curbside services. This pandemic has really just changed a lot of things for us. And you talked about people coming in. The one thing that kept individuals from coming in is they got the $600 extra per week. Mm-hmm. And so, they got laid off. Their employers probably called them back in, but they were actually making more off the $600 than they were when they were even working. So things have been changing considerably this past year. And I think that there will be a time where when things start opening up, people will want to come back to work. But I think there has been a lot of fear of the pandemic, and that has kept people at home. So this is something we haven't ever experienced before. But again, thank you for allowing us to come in and take up way too much of your time. So thank you.
Other questions from the board?
Thank you, and we will get you the Wright County information.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
For the information.
Thank you very much, Barb, for all of the great
Yes.
information and the services you're providing.
Thanks for all you do. It's very complex, and I'm impressed every time I look at numbers and programs and grants and, how you keep it all straight. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Have a great week.
You too.
Okay, item number 2, discussion, Health and Human Services, unreimbursed pandemic expenditures. Christine?
Okay, so back in July of last year, the board, as well as a large number of staff from as a whole, evaluated the needs that could be utilized for the CARES Act funding. We did put together a budget that was approved for estimated expenditures. Health and Human Services then worked with the CARES subcommittee for approval of our expenditures. which then went on to board. We've been waiting for reimbursement for those expenditures, and it was brought to light last week that there was action taken in August that we were not aware of that said that departments would not be reimbursed for their expenditures. Health and Human Services total expenditures were over $2 million. 923 of that was public health salary and fringe, not related to specifically to COVID response, but was eligible for CARES reimbursement. But the other $1.14 million was direct COVID activities, including almost $800,000 in salaries for staff, as well as things like the trailer and the refrigerators that were necessary for the vaccine projects that are going on now. So we're asking at this time that the board reconsider and reimburse Health and Human Services. Our situation is unique. We're one of two departments that maintain separate fund balance, highway and health, the two. And so this has, taken quite a large chunk out of our fund balance that we didn't anticipate would be reimbursed.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Noack.
since it happened last August when we did this, I don't remember why we did it. Is Heather or Lee on that can kind of explain to me why we did what we did? Because I can't recall anymore.
I didn't remember that it was August.
Whenever it was. You
Yeah,
said it was August?
You said it was August that we,
I think it was August 12th. I can.
Christine or
Heather?
Heather? Lee? You with us?
Yep, I guess I'm here. At the time we did it, we needed to keep the grant recording separately, and we just needed to move it out into the others. But as we're getting to the point in time where it was, I felt at the time we felt like if we reimburse HHS, we would need to reimburse everybody. So that would be a lot of accounting. And actually, at the end of the year, if I share my screen, they're actually greater fund balance than they were in a prior year. So let me see if I can pull it up. So yes, I understand at the time the fund balance isn't like they're necessarily down that expenditures. As you can see, Human Services has assigned fund balance for the 2020 financials of 9.7, and they really just need to be between the 20 and the 40, which they're on the higher end of. So to me, it was a fairness thing at the time, but I'll let Lee go from here.
Mr. Chair?
No, I think you kind of covered it, Heather, and there's a number of departments that I think this came up actually a few weeks ago when we were reviewing McMillan's 025 budget, as he also had some expenses that were not reimbursed via this CARES fund. So keep in mind, it doesn't work in the individual budgets. You're seeing the expenditures but not seeing the revenues from it. But at the bottom of the total county budget, it equals out because we recognize the transfer into the CARES fund into Budget 100 where we've held it. So it's simpler, the method that we went forward with. Certainly the board could decide to change direction, but this is, we carried forward as staff based on the discussion from August of last year.
Commissioner Houston?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Lee and Christine, so when we were divvying up these funds last fall, essentially, how much did we give to, I know that we allotted so much for human services and public health at that point. Is this over and above what we gave?
No, so you have this sheet, and I know the numbers are small. What was originally approved as our preliminary budget was $3.5 million. And we were under that, as our total expenditures were just over $2 million.
So Mr. Chair?
Yes,
At
Commissioner Noack.
at the end of the day, when it all equals out to Wright County at the end, is there, I mean, none of that money is reimbursable, or, I not reimbursable, but allowed for cost sharing from any other department, that we would want to put that in there at all. I mean, is there a real reason to have it transferred at this point?
Well, I think if we had been aware of the decision in August, we would have run the expenditures through Fund 100 instead of absorbing the cost, assuming that.
Yes?
I think one significant difference that we also built several, I mean, I think the majority of the county funds went towards salaries. However, in public health, we had large items that we purchased as well. So I guess that is coming, that's not coming out of salary budgets where we can say that's matched on 100. Those are going to be under supplies and equipment. I guess long-term I have concerns because then the fund balance that's impacted our fund balance, we'll know at some point there's not going to be the extra from the federal government for COVID, but we'll still be having to do and to not have.
So that 2 million came out of your fund balance? Then how can you be up over last year? If that's what I understood Heather to say.
Well, so, throughout the pandemic, the fund balance that Heather has given you has total for HHS. I don't have the breakdown in front of me of how much was income maintenance, social services, public health. But income maintenance and social services and a good portion of public health continue to provide services which are revenue generating. On the other side, we also had expenditures that were down significantly. Travel, for example. So as we see this shift of we're still allowed to bill and provide services, we fared very well last year that we don't necessarily, I mean, that's not necessarily going to carry us forward through the rest of the pandemic or into the future.
Chair? Commissioner Newsom.
Shouldn't it kind of equal out though? So when we go forward with this budget, you should have enough to cover travel expenses and some of these things that gave you a large fund balance last year. Shouldn't that equal out? I mean, you shouldn't. I'm just trying to figure this out because I'm kind of confused. But so that's what I'm wondering, because you've got CARES fund. We have this other round of the American Rescue Plan that's perhaps we can look at, but if it's already accounted for, that's what I'm just confused.
I think what her concern is that, and it wasn't just HHS, it was the sheriff's office
Right,
and
they
everybody
came out of
else.
their fund balance. Yep.
Yeah, because we did not actually reimburse that. We didn't do an in-house transfer. Where we did an in-house transfer from one of our funds into our general fund, if I remember correctly, is how we did it.
Well, the majority of the other expenses paid in general fund. The First Department is in that same.
Yep.
Whereas Health and Human Services has operated all of our expenditures going through Health and Human Services, but we do not have that revenue to that expenditure at this time because it's sitting in the general fund. And I understand what Heather's saying about reimbursing departments, but they are still all in the one fund, whereas ours maintains.
So you're concerned that with your reserves down, is what? I guess I kind of don't understand that either. I mean, so if your reserve, or I mean, your
Right.
reserves really aren't down, but the reserves only come into effect if there's ever an issue from the feds or the state government where they don't provide us any money. Correct? Or, so, and it's
Well,
still,
and it covers us in years where, we've had years before where out-of-home placements have been ordinarily high, and that's what, our
Right.
fund balance is
Yep.
what carries us through. There are things that we don't necessarily control.
Mhm.
And so what's in our fund balance has been largely sustained effort that's been at a small portion from MPH. That's not been enough for the amount that we're providing to the COVID vaccination program.
I mean, up until CARES Act, and then I would say now until, I mean, there's, put my faith in the government, I guess.
What? What?
It's on video, right?
I'm
So
telling.
how many months did we wait for decisions? And not only was that for constituents, but that was also for us to respond. Up until the notification I got Friday, we were under 34,000.
Was it in January?
Yeah, so again, without being reimbursed in our fund balance, whether it's for salaries or even just for equipment costs, that you could look at our budget and say, what, hope an explanation of COVID would justify it, but the revenue's not back, which is not.
But it's, but
County
the,
has it, correct, yes.
but the
I mean,
expenses-
county is held whole, if you want to look at it from the
Yeah,
macro level,
they-
and
they-
your commissioners,
the-
absolutely, but.
the expenses have been paid.
It's just,
So-
that's the difference on the balance, fund balance is whether or not,
Right.
I guess it'd be similar to highway and bridges,
Correct.
because they have the separate fund too, so,
But it all gets turned over at the end of the year.
no, it always maintains a separate balance.
Oh.
Now, the excess, or the amount that they didn't spend gets turned back
Right,
to the bottom line.
right.
No, in Health and Human Services, we do not dollars. It remains in our fund balance. That continues to grow or decline depending
Okay.
it's maintained separate.
I mean, I don't have to deal with multiple businesses like our financial that's here, because that's really what they're having to deal with. It's 14 or 18 different businesses. But the county still as a whole has you covered, so really, I'm not sure where the advantage is of transferring it, and I don't know with auditing how much an issue that is, and I understand with the original auditing, now I don't know if, when we go to budget, if we just transfer some extra into, from one fund balance to another. I don't know. Heather, is there concerns with that sort of stuff? I mean, we've
Yeah,
got it
usually you
covered.
don't do that. I mean, technically, if they were hurting, and I understand what Christina and Sarah are saying, I think if it ever gets to a point, we would transfer them the fund balance we need. But that's kind of how what the general fund is made for all the time, is when people are short money, the general fund ponies the money up to carry everybody. So in a sense, it's always better to have more money in the general fund, because it's always got to usually carry when somebody else, when mandates come, and that's my experience in other counties. When other funds start to fall behind, the general fund gives them the money they need.
And that, I mean, that makes sense to me, that, I mean, something happens to another department, and, we're kind of all, we're at one county, so if you need the money, then it's gonna be there. And if assessors, something happens in their department, if we need to give them money for some reason, it's there. But I don't know, I'm not the financial expert here at all, but.
No, Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Gline.
The fund balance that you have is controlled by our finance department anyway and invested by the finance department, or do you guys have a separate where you do the investments?
Book entry, so
Okay.
it would be made same investment pool that the rest of it.
Okay, so it's really, honestly, it's all in the same spot anyway then. It's just a separate line item saying, this is yours, this is the county as a whole, but we're still at the county as a whole. So I don't see an advantage to doing the extra paperwork to do it, but and unless you're gonna clearly explain to me why it has an impact to the bottom line, I don't quite understand.
I think, and Commissioner Wetter and I weren't here for last year for the decision-making, but if the main interest is to upright a ship and show the budget as flush, in your case, then is there other areas that we'd have to look at potentially to get other departments or offices flush for the same reasons per se? If the concern is at the end of the year that somebody's gonna look at a budget report and call someone to the podium for an explanation, we can probably address that part. But what I'm listening from finance is that it's a kind of a cumbersome thing for maybe what the overall benefit may be. But that's kind of what I'm picking up on, not being here last year for that process.
Well, I think we've made the request. If the decision the commissioner made in August stands, then that's where we'll.
And like I said, I mean, I can't see the commissioners now or in the future holding HHS responsible for being down because of COVID. Well, unless, of course, you get, 5 people up here elected that believe COVID never happened. I suppose in that situation, it might be an issue.
Yeah, I mean, we want to support, we do support you. We want to support you. We want to make sure that, what you need, all your costs, of course, are covered. And some of it, I mean, a substantial amount, because you've had tremendous expenses, has been, but.
And you did receive some separate funds yourself from MDH?
I think we're probably up to 150.
That's it?
Yeah. I mean, we're finally got the notice, at least the amount, but not the contract for federal funds.
And again, will that amount go directly into HHS, or does that go into the general?
So what I was going to cover under that, we've been notified by MD of $700,000 to cover from April 1st through December 1st of 2021 for the vaccine implementation. I don't have a contract yet, so I don't know exactly what that's going to cover, but already.
So that doesn't look back, like Christine said, without the grant fund given for the idea that something was coming. Whether it's the art funds or what have you. This is specific to vaccinations, however, we still have.
We want to.
Since this is coming from PH, it should flow directly into Health and Human Services.
I agree in that situation. You know what, and again, as far as it's concerned, we understand you guys had to spend more time and additional costs, but, it still all goes to the bottom line, and it's still Wright County, and the amount is there. Mr. Chair, I see Lindsay has her hand up.
Yes, Lindsay.
I hate to see her hand get tired,
Hard
too.
to see from this angle.
She's so
Lindsay
little,
Meyer.
her arm could get tired too fast.
Hey guys, commissioners, I just wanted to make the point that Heather had said, we would have to quote unquote reimburse all of these other departments for that. The funding itself was more of a general, it wasn't specific, whereas the HHS grants that we're talking about are specific, so they have to be accounted for in the HHS fund. This CARES funding, my understanding, was not specific, so it doesn't have to be accounted for anywhere else. And I'm saying have to. We can, but we do not have to. As far as fund balance goes, Heather had suggested that all of the departments that reside in the general fund, their dollars, their turnback dollars, build towards the general fund's fund balance. HHS funds stay segregated, as do the road and bridge funds. As we had talked, it is absolutely accurate that if HHS were to have a fund balance deficit, the general fund is required to fund that, but not vice versa. We cannot tap into the HHS fund balance for any reason outside of HHS, but any other fund can tap into the general fund balance and has to. The general fund is that general bundle of funds available to any and all departments for any purpose.
So if we have too much money in HHS fund balance, if we ever run into an emergency at the county level, we can't touch the HHS fund balance.
No, we cannot.
Okay.
Nope, it's considered a special revenue, so any revenue that come in for a specific source, such as HHS, it is to be used only for that purpose. Cannot be reallocated by the board.
So all right, let's just take that as an example. Let's say it gets too high for whatever reason. Christine dies and she donates, $3 million to HHS and the fund balance gets too high. Would we be able to utilize that money to reduce HHS's part of the tax charge to residentials? Yes. We could do, okay, you could utilize it for that purpose then.
Yes, you can.
But that would be the only way.
You cannot offset, say, the surveyor's budget with HHS fund balance.
Okay. All right.
Thank you, Lindsay. Do we need a motion then if we're not going to change anything?
I don't know if there's is that an action item?
It's a discussion.
It's just discussion, so
What did you say your budget was, or your fund balance was again, Christine?
Heather, what did you say the fund balance was? Heather was the one that showed the
Oh,
fund balance.
okay.
Hold on, I can pull it up again now. I think I shut it.
I'm sorry, my memory.
It was like 9 million something.
Okay.
Yeah.
9 million?
Yeah.
So it's a substantial amount then. It's not
All right.
any
So
risk of hurting.
board's in agreement to leave as is then? Okay.
I think
We
so.
move on to the next item, and Christine started on it, but number 3, presentation contact center, Christine and James.
Okay, thank you very much, Heather, for not sharing or unsharing your screen. Jim, are you still on?
Yes, I am here.
Okay, so on March 31st, we went live with our new contact center. So I'm going to hand the presentation over to Jim to show what that looks like, as well as the huge number of team members from HHS that committed to this project. It's been very successful.
Yes, so we are indeed very excited here. Let me get my screen share in place. And I trust everyone can see my screen. So
Can we get rid of the people on the right side?
Yeah, maybe if we're having a little trouble seeing it, Jim, we're gonna.
Mason's going to hide the participants for us, Jim. You can go ahead.
Gotcha. Okay. So this project has been a couple of years in the making. I think as everyone's aware, it really got started in earnest last October after we were able to make a decision on a vendor. And as you know, commissioners, part of one of the greatest benefits of this particular package is that now Health and Human Services staff can access their office phone from anywhere. So working remotely at home, working remotely on vacation, or working in the office, we can have access to the same phone as if we were sitting directly in the office. This has been critical due to the fact that we committed for the new building to having 48 staff at minimum teleworking in Health and Human Services. And with that, we were able to dramatically reduce the footprint that was going to be required by Health and Human Services for the new facility. So all of that has come to fruition. We're very excited, and just wanted to take a couple of minutes here to go over what it looks like and how we take calls in this new software, and then a couple of reports that we can look at. I'm going to get Misty here to give me a call. Give me 1 second.
Charlie would love this, a demonstration.
Should I call him too and really stir it up?
Yeah.
I see that. That's what I just wondered. Then we
And
can
of
see
course my-
really how it works. Because he's on the phone with somebody else. How
There
does it
we
work?
go. So this is what it looks like when a phone call would be coming in. Everyone picks up their phone on their computer. I'm going to go ahead and click answer here. And hello, Misty. How are you today? Misty is going to remain muted here so that we don't get feedback. But that's really how easy it is to take a call. If Misty were a client and I wanted to transfer or add in participants, that's another great benefit of this package. So really, once we have a client on the call and say we needed to add language line services for translation, we can do that very easily with add a participant. And in fact, we can add as many participants as we want. So it's an unlimited conference calling feature, including internal parties as well as external parties that we can add to individual calls. So if I needed to bring in language line and a supervisor, that is certainly not a problem. Another benefit here is we can easily transfer a call. So Misty came to me and she really needs to talk to Brent. I can simply do my transfer here. I'm going to type in Brent, and then you'll see I've got some options here on where I could transfer, and those are important options. I'm just going to pick the user Brent here real quick, and then you can see I've got two options. A blind transfer is just going to send Misty straight to Brent. A consult transfer is what we're really aiming for in Health and Human Services, is to really do 100% consult transfers, and that's where we hand this off softly and make introductions as needed. So you can see here, Misty gets placed on hold. Brent answers the phone. Brent, I'm going to have you go ahead and mute yourself too, just so we don't get any feedback. And then we'll have options here. I can click all, and I've got everybody on the phone. I can make those introductions to discuss what Misty has told me before I let her go to Brent. Or if Brent wasn't the right person, I can tell Brent goodbye and pull in the right person and make sure that Misty has the help she needs before I'm letting her go. So that's just kind of a brief introduction, taking a call, some of the things we can do very easily that while we could do them before, they really were sometimes onerous, sometimes not possible in the case of pulling in external parties into a phone call. So that is taking a call. And then just some real time.
James, we have a question, if that's okay.
James, this is a great benefit then, and Christine too, it's a great benefit for those that we have working from home. Because before, they couldn't get a direct line. We could not transfer a call directly to them.
Right, so in financial services that were a part of our old contact center, they could only be a part of the contact building. our other staff that weren't a part of the contact center, the only way for clients to get a hold of them was to call their office phone, which then goes to voicemail, and then the employee can call them back. So I'm not sure if the board is aware, but on Wednesday of last week, as a precautionary measure, all of our staff back to working from home, except for those that are fully vaccinated or recovered from COVID within the last 19 days. So it's been just amazing to have brought the contact center up where everybody can receive their calls exactly as if they were in the office. Didn't have that capability.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. Along the language line, maybe it's for you or James, but if somebody walks in the door and there's a language barrier and you need an interpreter, can you call them into an office and hook them up to this? I assume that sometimes you have to have a live interpreter come into the building, right?
No.
Well,
Go ahead, Jim.
I was just, and Christine may be able to answer better than I can. In certain cases, we certainly can call.
I'm on the line as well.
I'm sorry.
Oh, this is Lisa. I was just going to say I am still here if you have any questions.
Okay. But we certainly can, we certainly do have rooms available in the lobby where those translator services can be provided via phone for walk-in clients as well.
Okay, thank you.
You bet. So just to wrap up here a little bit, I wanted to share a couple of the real-time reporting features. And there are many, many more reporting features than just these that we will be showing over time. But just to give you a flavor here, we can look, so this particular report is going to show us, and you can see there are multiple pages, by phone number here, the calls that we have coming in to the office. So you can see I've picked the dates to be for last week. And so last week, what this is telling us is we had over 2,200 calls come in, which is a fairly standard week. And before, though, we wouldn't be able to see necessarily this information in real time about what the average time to answer was, what the abandon rate was, what our service level was. So this is going to help us be able to manage, and by manage, I really mean look at the data so that we can be getting our clientele who are calling in to the right person more quickly than we have been able to in the past. And just one other report here that'll be interesting. So we have, in addition to everyone having their own phone number, which they still do, and by the way, our phone numbers didn't change. We ported all of our 10-digit phone numbers over to Genesys Cloud. One of the artifacts from that transfer is that after we've completed moving off of the Avaya, other county departments will need to dial our 10-digit number in order to reach Health and Human Services staff, but we don't anticipate that being a problem. It hasn't been a problem over the last week. But so in addition to individuals having their own number, we also have queues or other inbound entry points that clientele can call. And so when clientele call one of these numbers, they're not calling an individual, they're calling into a pool of individuals that will be able to take their call. So and that's what we mean by a queue. And so this particular report gives us real-time information on these different service groups that we have defined and calls coming into them. So we can see a lot of information again on what their average time is, what their wait and queue time is, if they've been on hold, if we've had to transfer those calls, if we've done consult transfers or blind transfers. And again, this is for the last week, and we're still getting our legs underneath us. So don't judge us too bad by some of the numbers here. We are our service levels are constantly improving, and this tool, though, we want to reemphasize, is going to give us the capabilities we need in order to have the data to show what those service levels are and consistently improve them. So that is just a brief overview. I know everybody's stayed late to see that. We really thank everyone for their patience. Are there any other questions?
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Commissioner Deloide.
Jim, when you said abandon calls, what does that mean those that went into voicemail, or is there a separate item so you can see, you know, all of them go into voicemail or?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Abandon is a very specific term, and what that means are calls where the client chose to hang up while they were in the menu system or after they had been put through into a queue to wait for someone to respond. That's what an abandon is. So we want to reduce those as much as we can and we do that through a couple of ways. Number one is no one has to wait in queue for longer than 2 minutes before they get an option to receive a callback. And what they can do is just tell the system they want to call back. It sees the number they're calling from, verifies it with the client, and then puts them in. It puts in a call. It schedules a callback that will call back that client when their place in line comes up. So they never, when they call in and they have to go get the kids or something, they didn't realize they had something else coming up. They don't lose their place in line by asking for a callback. So it's there are a lot of great features like that that are going to help us serve clients much better.
So it'll show us how many people answer their phones on the first or 50th ring, or how many just let them go to voicemail, that sort of stuff too?
Yep, it will. That's right. We'll also have insight on numbers that aren't necessarily for individual, as well as for the queues, also for individual numbers. We can see how many outbound phone calls staff are making, where those are going, what the length of time is, all of that kind of information.
And then we can roll this, once we get comfortable with it and understand everything, we can roll this out into the other departments too? Is this a module based or?
Yeah, so yep, it's certainly Health and Human Services wants to be a showpiece for the rest of the county on what the software can do and what a great benefit it is for clients. So yep, we hope that's the case in the future.
Now, you're monitoring Jamie's phone number too, right? So the commissioners can check up on her?
Everyone is included. We're equal opportunity.
Oh, good. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. It looks like a great program. I'm excited.
Well, thank you, commissioners. And as Christine mentioned, there is the list of the Health and Human Services project team that made this the success that it has been. Yeah. So we're pretty proud of each and every one, and the time and effort that was put into the design and the testing and the training of all of the staff. Just great job on part of everyone in Health and Human Services.
That's a lot of people involved in the implementation.
That was a lot. Yeah, a big project.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anything else, Christine?
Thank you, commissioners.
On the contact center?
I don't have anything else.
Okay.
Looks nice though.
It does, yeah.
Under administration, letter B1, director's comments.
Okay, so you should have in your packets a letter of support for the rural Minnesota opioid response for Black, Indigenous people of color. those acronyms are. This was submitted, we've been working largely with public health to help further this cause. Questions on that?
Nope.
Then I talked to you about the $746,000 we should be receiving from MDH for vaccinations. I'm going to hand it off now to Kim, who will talk about a retirement and.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. I'd like to just take a moment to acknowledge a retirement coming up in my area. Cindy Otto Forsyth started August 23rd, 2012 as a financial worker. She works in our family financial area. She couldn't be with us today, but I'd like to thank her for her service to Wright County. And Cindy's last day will be May 3rd. She's been here almost 9 years.
Kim, I'm sorry, what was the name?
Cindy Otto Forsyth.
Oh, yep, Cindy, retiring.
Okay.
Thank you.
Very exciting for her.
That's everything that we have for today.
Members of the board have anything else? Commissioners? All right. Motion to adjourn at 3 p.m.
All right.